Buongiorno a tutti. Good morning to all of you. I hope you had a good night's sleep after the lovely dinner we had last night. For me, it was a little bit short, the sleep, but it was very good company and the food was really good. So now this is the last day of the workshop. I enjoyed it myself, so I hope you enjoyed it as well. And this morning we'll start with an interesting session on digital innovation and new data sources. We have 3 presentations from Italy by Giulio, Fabrizio, and Diego. That's pronounced correctly? Yeah, okay. So the first you know the drill, so it's 5 minutes presentations, then we have 5 to 8 minutes for questions. And then at the very end, we have some more minutes for general discussion if we have time. So now I'd like to introduce the first speaker, which is Giulio Perani. Giulio is a senior economist at Istat, responsible for developing new indicators to measure the digitalization of Italian businesses. He has managed several official business surveys, including Istat surveys on business research and development, innovation, training, and information technologies. He has also been the Italian delegate to several EU and international statistical fora. So, Giulio, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ger. Well, I'm going to present a project we have carried out in the framework of the Italian business census. Probably you know, some other speaker could have already told about the Italian business census. Now the traditional census has been replaced by a multi-purpose survey carried out every 4 years. The reference population is around 1 million enterprises. And the sample is about 1/3 of the reference population. In the framework of this big survey, we have attempted to collect some information about the rate of diffusion of digital transaction platforms. Basically, here we are talking about businesses like Amazon, like Booking.com, like Glovo. So all the platforms used by enterprises to sell services or goods. We have not very good indicators about how many or which percentage of Italian enterprises are selling goods or services using these platforms. And so we developed a specific strategy to collect this information in our multipurpose survey. The approach used was a 2-tier approach. We adopted as a first step the approach usually used by Eurostat or recommended by Eurostat in the annual survey on information technology, which is based on asking but proposing to respondents a list of leading platforms and asking if the respondents were selling goods or services through these platforms. But we have added something in the attempt to identify some local or small digital platforms not considered in the Eurostat survey. What we have achieved in this, with this approach is a better statistics on the platforms used in Italy, but also the possibility to map the offer of digital services in Italy, in the Italian business sector. So as a result, we can say that the official results of the the multi-purpose survey, in line with the following the Eurostat approach, is 10.4% of Italian enterprises using digital platforms. But if we had the use of local or small platforms, the percentage is a bit higher, it's 30% higher, 13.4. In addition, we have a lot of additional information I'm going to show you in the next slide. So the process started with the data collection and the data dissemination. Data dissemination is just about the official approach. But in addition to that, we have processed the results of the open-ended questions. And as a result, we have identified through a number of different string of text connected to a number of websites. And from the websites, we have been able to identify some enterprises and to discuss about and to compare a possible categorization of websites and the categorization of enterprises or business. And we are talking about legal units because let me stress that the Italian business census is not following the Eurostat approach to survey statistical enterprises, but we are still just surveying legal units. So this was the questionnaire used in the survey. So we have identified, in order to reduce the burden to respondents, 5 main sectors of activity of the digital platforms and a residual one. For each of these sectors, we have identified the leading platforms and proposed this list of leading platforms to the respondents. But we have given the respondents the possibility to provide information on other platforms, in addition to those listed in the questionnaire. For the same objective to reduce the response burden, we have not asked about each platform sector to each NACE sector, but we have selected the NACE sectors relevant for that platform sectors. It means that when we ask about the use of marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, or so, we just asked the manufacturing enterprises and the enterprises in the trade sectors. It's the same for the tourist platforms like Booking, Expedia, and so, and we asked only to the NACE sectors relevant for the tourist activity. These are basically the results. In orange, you can see the enterprises with no platform activity. In the green, you see the percentage of enterprises selling goods or services by using leading platforms. But you can see also that at least in some sectors, the percentage of enterprises selling goods or services through small or local platforms is also relevant. And this gives room for some additional analysis. After having processed these responses, having identified the real platforms among the information provided by the respondents, you can see that by adding the number of the percentage of enterprises using also small platforms, for some sectors, in this example, I'm just highlighting travel agencies, the percentage of Italian enterprises using platforms can increase significantly. In this case, can increase around 30–40%. So it's the same for other sectors. So in principle, it could be recommended to adopt this approach. But in addition to that, we have seen that not all respondents were really providing us with information on real transaction platforms. because of course we can ask the respondents, please report only your activities with transaction platforms, but they understand only platforms. And here we realized that we were asking about a very important trend in the digital economy. That's the trend towards a platformization. So a lot of platforms have emerged, not really consistent with our definition of transaction platform. So for instance, here you can see that analyzing the answer we got from the respondents, we have 1/3 of the respondents really reporting activities with transaction platforms in green, or activities with marketplaces. But many other enterprises are just reporting that they are collaborating with the technical platforms that are supporting their activities, not just for connecting to transaction platforms, but just to improve their e-commerce activities. So what we have, our assumption was that considering these activities all together, to putting together support in terms of finance, so enterprises making respondents able to get paid for what they are selling online, or simply support to website design, or any other technical activity supporting e-commerce. In a sense, we have defined an e-commerce ecosystem. So we have identified the number of different activities supporting the online sales by enterprises. It's just what other companies, mostly consulting companies, are doing. This is just an example. And well, in the same line, we also have attempted a categorization of this activity, where transaction platforms are included, but also are included a number of other digital services. Basically, we have identified nine big categories and 42 subcategories. What is, as you can see, most of the categories are related to the transactions, like marketplaces, travel agencies, but we have also many other technical activities included in this sample. And here we are considering something more than 1,000 enterprises. I have to let me just remember that we had only text strings, and then we identified some website, and then we identified some enterprises. So 1/3 of our enterprises are foreign enterprises. And so it means that Italian enterprises for e-commerce activities are largely using technologies coming from abroad, mainly US, Germany, France, and UK. But this is the most interesting information for us. That's just comparing the nice classification of the Italian enterprises included in the sample and the categorization according to the e-commerce activity. And we say that if we consider the telecommunication sector according to NACE, we found there a lot of different digital service actually provided by the enterprises classified under the telecommunication activities in NACE terms. That means basically well, the current classification, and it's something that was already discussed also in the speech given by Ger. We have a problem in measuring the digital economy using the definitions when they exist, using the classification, which are the standards for official statistics. And we have to change a little bit our approach and also consider different sources of data, because the web can provide a lot of information. For instance, we have been able to identify the service actually offered by our sample of firms only looking at the website. Could that not be able to get this information from other sources? So website should be considered an essential part of the company, a kind of a virtual local units, and as such, used in the official classifications. And probably also some meta classifications of the activity of enterprises, considering their digital contents should be considered, going beyond the more traditional approach used by NACE. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Giulio. So now we have time for questions. Anyone? Yes? Yes? Yes. So the question was that you are dealing with legal units and not statistical units, and how do you deal with that also with regard to Eurostat recommendations?
Well, this was my choice, because it's the Italian census. It's an explicit choice by Istat to carry out the Italian census with reference to the population of Italian legal units. There is, that's basically to make it easier also to match the business data with a lot of administrative sources available in Italy, which of course are considering legal units. So for this kind of exercise, I had no chance to use a different unit. And also, when we link the website to an enterprise, I had to refer to legal units just because, according to the Italian law, for each website, it is mandatory to have a legal unit responsible for the contents. So all the analysis was carried out at the legal units level.
Okay, thank you. Boris? Over here.
Thank you for the interesting presentation. I was just thinking, what would be methodological advices from you? Let's say that somebody else in some other country considers doing the same. What are the methodological takeaways from your
we have an issue with the mic.
Yes.
Please, Giulio.
Well, I don't know if I'm correctly answering your questions. The point I want to raise is that the coverage, the statistical coverage of the digital economy at Eurostat level is absolutely not adequate to the needs. And if you think that there is only one large survey harmonized at the Eurostat level, and the information produced by this survey are not always in line with the needs, and there are a lot of methodological issues. Let just me mention that, as you may know, the questionnaire of the harmonized ACT survey at the EU level is produced 2 years before the questionnaire is sent to respondents. And you can understand that if you, in the context of the digital economy, 2 years is a too long time. So the first issue to be raised is timeliness in this context. Another key issue is that it's really the digital activity carried out by the enterprise. If you, I could just make a couple of examples. If you think what are becoming data centers, it's a totally new sectors emerging in a few months, I would say, which will become crucial for the whole economy, and we don't have any kind of indicator on that. Or even something more, well, simple, if you want, which is about factory automation. And if I'm looking at the data sources used by analysts at international level to measure the level of automatization in enterprises, is something absolutely, well, exotic. There are some private registers or a lot of assumption on international trade of robots and so on. So, and there are no specific surveys aimed at collecting this information, also considering the web as a main source of data. We are extensively talking about the web, using the web to improve the process, the statistical processes to some extent. But we are not developing as official statistics, mostly at the EU level, a new approach, new definitions, new classification, just to understand how the digital economy works.
Thank you. We have time for one more short question. Anyone? No? Oh, over there?
You.
Yes.
I'm Serena from Istat, and my question is, the main enterprise are multinational enterprise. We can see Amazon, other enterprise. I would like to ask if you consider this relationship, if you consider only website of national enterprise, or you consider only website the international enterprise, the global structure of the groups.
Would you give a short answer, please?
Yes. The analysis was not carried out at the group level. So we started with a very short information given by the respondents. So, and the information was linked to a specific website. And as a website is managed by a single enterprise, the idea was that what should be relevant is the nationality of that enterprise. But what is important in my view is that to what extent Italian enterprises are sourcing from external providers of technology to improve their e-commerce activities. That's something we should think about.
Okay, thank you so much. We are now moving to the next speaker. And that is Fabrizio Davide. Currently, Davide is a research director at Istat and an academic, and he has led the National Registry, a project on the interoperability of the EU public sector. As a former innovation director at Telecom Italia, he contributed to the Italian digital transformation. He serves as an expert evaluator for the EIC and ERC on AI research. So Fabrizio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ger. Is it okay with sound? Huh? So good morning to all. I would like to take the lead from the speech, the president's speech by Giulio. I would like to continue on digital economy, basically. I know, and you know better than me, all the problems that we have with the traditional statistics. We know, but the real problem, in my opinion, is that there is an incompleteness and lack of timing, because we are moving, looking into the rear mirror and not looking strategically at. And what does it mean? That when we make statistics, we usually use old data. So how is that? How can go make something better? The challenge is interoperability, in my opinion, in our opinion. There is a framework in Europe that is called the Interoperable Europe Act. This was issued last year in 2024. Is a very big effort from the Commission, from the European Commission, because I just want to quote the words of the Commissioner for the publications in EU. She said, Europe itself is an interoperability project. What does it mean? That we should make these people interoperating and exchanging information real time. We are speaking of digital economy. 1 second is late. 1 second after is late. We are speaking of milliseconds for most transactions in the digital economy. So how is it for Italy? For Italy, we did something. We did something good. I can't use the pointer here, probably. Look at the right column. You have a sketch of the existing infrastructure in Italy for interoperability. It was born after the COVID epidemics. It means we have 3 layers. We have the platform, the digital platform for data exchange called the PDMD. After that, we have the API catalog. And on top, we have the registry, the semantic registry. That is a registry of metadata, basically. We call it, here we call it in Istat, that is really the implementer of this project, the national digital national data catalog, but it's wrong. It should be metadata catalog, really. With this infrastructure, we can do something new, because we can improve timeliness, because we have data that are exchanged in real time between the institutions. We will have we have some of this data just ongoing now. Let me just have an idea. There are 10,000 different connectors between different institutions. Let me just to quote Teams, there's a number of 500 open connectors with the different institutions. We too, considering it, including Istat. We have the granularity, because we are speaking of unit level, but I mean very low granularity. We are speaking of contracts, for example, or payments, single payments. We can go to the single payment. Source should be every administrative source in Italy. Output, we can make everything here. We can reconstruct the knowledge graphs, as I will show you. And of course, there is no burden on the respondent, because we just go and pick the data when they are flowing. So why is that implementing that? Because we did a lot of things that you know very well. We just to say for the colleagues, the foreign colleagues, we made integrated system of statistical register. We have a lot of ontology-based classification, and we have the permanent censuses. This is three pillars that help us in be credible in this new challenge. And that's why the Prime Minister's office chose Istat. I want to give you just two use cases that can help understanding why this is important. This use case is just a vision at the moment, but is in the roadmap for the office of the Prime Minister, for the Innovation Office, exactly. The idea is to transform the business register held by the Italian Chamber of Commerce into a dynamic near real-time dashboard of the national production system. Near real-time means minutes. How it works? There's a platform that is the you don't see my pointer, huh? No, you see that. Okay, here it is. This is the platform, is the exchange platform. And you have the data coming from the Social Security Service, the Commerce Chamber that provides structural data on the entities involved in the transactions. You have the Social Security Service that has the registry of the jobs, for example, but many other things. Tax agency that care for the electronic invoicing. So we can just go there and pick invoice after invoice in time. And ANAC, for example, is an agency in Italy that work out the data of companies that are involved in the public sector provisioning. So if we put everything here together, we have another need before putting the things together. We need a semantic integration layer because these people speak different languages, and we need an harmonization at the API level. So we need that when they exchange data, the metadata are already shared. And that's the work that we do. The idea is to provide a dashboard like that. This is a sketch taken from a document, public document ongoing here. They want something like that. Day after day, you know, it's a vision, of course, and we need to win a lot of challenges, but this is the idea. Another use case that can help us understand the importance of this thing is to move beyond describing the economy, as Giulio is trying to do, as a separate sectors and map the economic actors as a network of value chains. We can use a technology, probably you know, it's knowledge graph. But why we don't use knowledge graph every day in any case? Because we lack information. With interoperability in place, we will have this information because we build on the business register that you saw before, and we can focus on intercompany relationship and the value of these interactions. On the right, you see an inspiring project that is called MacroPru. MacroPru is a project in Oxford, in the Oxford Economic Institute, that is ongoing. It is aimed at mapping the Polish economy. Here you see a symbolic sketch, of course, of the economy that they are investigating. And they are at 60% of mapping. This MacroPru is the help of high-performance computing providers, because we need really high-performance computing. We need an enormous amount of computation, time after time, because the computation is done simultaneously. It's not done after all. And Amazon is the provider, technology provider for this project. And let me comment under technology viewpoint, it's huge. It's a very big project. It's the first time that someone conceived to map and realize a digital twin of a complete economy. And we are speaking of Poland, that is not a small country. Two things are electronic invoicing exchange systems, and we have in Italy, and semantic modeling. Semantic modeling is a tricky matter. Which are the results? Just to say where we are looking at. We have new capabilities when the interoperability platform will be in place. Value chain analysis, we can analyze a complete value chain mapping, strategic production. For example, automotive or fashion is in the scope, are in the scope. Another one is shock propagation simulation. In this area, there is the climate change, in the climate change, for example, or the climate impact. Here you have on the right a European project that is ongoing, is huge itself, is a digital twin of the planet. Basically, it looks at the oceans and the sea. They want to do this thing on the left. It is 100 more resolution for standard cloud versus standard climate models or simulation platforms. It is ongoing. It's on the right. You see a reconstruction of the higher Mediterranean Sea. Two other possibilities are working with the industrial policy in real time, as we just do, and track innovation. On the right, you see a Stanford simulation. There are real data and no casting of the head counts over time by age group for software developers and the impact of AI. It's impressive because you see the young people that are these two lines, this and this, are losing jobs instead of increasing jobs with AI. It is another project that is ongoing, and they want to observe the market hour by hour. So what I can say, I want to close with the challenges. The challenges are human capital. First of all, we should invest in training programs because this digital technology and this digital economy are completely different from the past. As Giulio said, is saying, governance is not only the AI Act, it's a lot of things. We should strengthen the mandate of governance, for example, with agencies like ours, for defining standards and apply new technology when need. There's also a problem of adoption in the public sector. We should prioritize the effort. We should go to things that are perceived as useful by the public. And we need to strengthen collaboration because in this public sector, we have silos that don't speak to the one to the other, usually. The big thing that I want to communicate is that this is not a new source of data, are the old data, but put together in real time. So the big thing is connection on the technology, semantic, and human viewpoint. This is a famous image. It was generated by an AI some 1 year ago, let me say, and presented in a famous AI audience. I don't know what to quote it, but it's important because they said that 1 year ago in the USA, and they just apply perfectly to our situation here in Europe. Of course, they are speaking of integration to make more business. Now we're speaking of integration to have a better public services and better integration in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Questions? Yes, over there, Guus.
Yes, thanks for your presentation. It's really interesting if we could make like real-time statistics, but I wondered how far you would want to go with real-time. like if you make real-time statistics for government expenditures, it's like, oh, now salaries are paid, so then it's a really high outlier in your payments. Would you would you want to make it that real time? What's your vision on that? So how
I missed something. I don't understand. I don't understand what I think about the problems in real-time statistics. You mean?
No, I wondered how real time you want to make it. Like do you want to make it like each month so that it's like sort of continuous? Or do you want to make it like real? You can make it like every hour or every minute or every...
No, really, I'm not proposing real-time statistics. I'm thinking that we are involved in this big effort to provide the timely data. I mean, fresh data. And useful data, because with the semantic layer, we can understand the data. No, we should not need an ex post categorization, for example, or we can skip a lot of normal stages of pre-elaboration. But of course, this is fresh, a completely new field. I don't know what we will do with that. The business know exactly what to do with that. For us, in the public sector, to be understood. Let me say also that this platform is not done for statistics. It's done for the normal workings in the country government, in the country public sector. So we are present in this platform because we are implementing the semantics, but we can utilize the same platform for doing statistics in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. But maybe I may add a thing that also follows up on Gusta's question. If I remember correctly, you said we use the data that we have, the old data. When I talk to businesses, I hear them say, well, okay, your statistics are okay, but they are old. I want more real-time statistics. And that has to do with the production process. So it takes time to produce this statistics. So if talking about nearly real-time dashboards, how then would the old data fit in?
I have no answer on that, really. We are now, this is a big effort in enabling new sources of data. That's the title of our workshop here, our session. There are open questions, a lot of open questions here.
Yeah. So maybe that's one of the challenges that we need to face, how to, with the new data sources and new technologies, how can we improve our timeliness in collecting data, but also in producing statistics?
We have the problem of authority in this, of course, because if it's fully automatic, or what we can do is just certify the process, but not the result. For example, that's another problem that we have. Open questions.
Thank you.
Open
Next question from Finland.
Yes. A little continuing on the same subject. My question is related to time to live of the micro level data that you had in your cloud, where you are gathering information from multiple sources. Let's say the e-invoices supplied by the tax authority, for example. Is it envisioned that you could look at an individual invoice, but how long will that invoice be in the system? Or is it only like at this moment you can look at what has been put into the system? Do you understand my question?
I understand. Again, it's another question. No, we have no answers on these kind of things, because the system was born for calculating taxes, for example, not to making statistics on taxes. So we are piggybacking something else. We are piggybacking other purposes. Interoperability for Europe means to have a control of financial transactions, for example, to avoid big problems. For us, it's another matter. Which kind of information we really want to pick, and which one we want to elaborate is a completely unexplored field. And another point is that pseudonymization. If you use the typical methodology, we lose a lot of that. We lose most of that. So we should also rethink about anonymization and pseudonymization. There are a lot of tools that we are discussing at the moment. For example, the idea of closing in sandbox the real data and making it for us impossible to explore the original data. But the computation is done with the real data. So certification, standardization are missing at the moment. We have a lot of tools and technology. We are looking for someone that helps.
And just slightly following up on that, where would that data lake of information reside?
No, we don't copy data. There's not we don't manage a data lake. The data are taken on the fly during the movement in the platform. And this is let me say, streaming statistics in any case. It's not collection data.
Okay.
The different institutions here, like the tax agency, will collect the data, not us. Or not most of these actors. Most of these actors are involved in the process, but not with data. Own data, but not the other people data.
Okay, thank you so much. Because of the time, I suggest that we move on. But there might be a topic that we can continue with in the discussion a few minutes afterwards, and that's interoperability that you mentioned in the very beginning. And maybe Portugal, Paulo, you might comment on that when we have time after the presentation. So how you deal with interoperability in your systems. But now I suggest that we move on. So thank you so much, Fabrizio. And then the last speaker is Diego De Stefano. Diego is Senior Technologist in Business Statistics here at Istat. Since 2002, he has been working in structural economic statistics, first in the business accounting system, then in the foreign trade sector. In recent years, he has been interested in the application of innovative technologies for data collection, in particular new AI technologies aimed at reducing the statistical burden on companies. So the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. In this presentation, we are presenting the experimental study. This was carried out by me and the other colleagues, Paola Bosso, Giovanni Alberto Di Paolo, and Pasquale Papa. We analyzed the machine-to-machine and artificial intelligence for an automated business data collection in official statistics. This is an experimental study. We will explain the context and the aims, the experimental study approach and the early results and the conclusions. First of all, we can say that the development in new technologies and artificial intelligence offers new opportunities for business data collection in official statistics. There is a reduced burden on respondents because of a direct extraction from ERP reduces company involvement. Timeliness, real data enables continuous monitoring of economic indicators, short-term statistical analysis. Then there is a cost efficiency. M2M transmission lowers data collection costs. And at last, quality. Automated data generation reduces errors and discrepancies. We have to say that businesses are for some time now oriented to consider the entire chain of activities as a single interconnected system to create value. Just to say the main components of an integrated value chain system suppliers, internal activities, distribution and marketing, and customer technological integration. And the main goals of an integrated approach to the value chain system is that an integrated value chain system transforms siloed cooperations into a cohesive, collaborative, and strategic network that creates values for the business, its partners, and its customers. This enables an end-to-end visibility, provide real-time data and insights across the value chain, support better decision-making through integrated information systems, and increase transparency and accountability. Why is the data exchange important in the value chain? It's important because it enables real-time decision-making, improves demand forecasting and planning, reduces delays and inventory issues, enhances transparency and trust among partners, supports automation and efficiency, and drives innovation and responsiveness. Why is this expected? It's expected because as becoming more complex, volatile, and customer-driven, the data is seen as a strategic asset to enable automation, optimization, and proactive control. In 2024 and 2025, we launched an experimental study. In 2024, we launched an experimental trial on short-term surveys to explore the potential of these new data sources. In 2025, the study has been proposed in the Istat's innovation laboratory called Labin. This experiment enhances the potential of artificial intelligence for mapping, retrieving business and data to automate data collection activities. And it focuses and evaluates the application of a generalized machine-to-machine data transmission framework, leveraging specialized Industry 5.0 modules embedded in the most advanced ERP platforms. This approach moves beyond conventional machine-to-machine transmissions, which rely on ad hoc procedures. Now, this new approach offers instead an innovative, generalized, and scalable solution. The use of AI for mapping and retrieving business data to automate data collection. This experiment aims to explore the potential of AI in supporting the processes of mapping, extracting, and integrating business data required for the production of official statistics by the following steps: semantic mapping of internal and external data sources, automatic data extraction and retrieval, validation and consistency checks, and interoperability and automation of data flows. This experimental study consists in 6 phases. Now we are in the second and third phase. The first phase was the identification of the experimental domain. This consists in a selection of a reference variable for the trial, the identification of the experimental sector. The second phase was an assessment of the ERP providers, identifying and engaging advanced ERP providers, and feasibility assessment through structured interviews. The third phase was a company's assessment, assessing the acceptability of the new approach among a purposive sample of respondents. The fourth phase is the alignment with statistical information, so the evaluation of discrepancies and consistency, definitions, frequency, timing, sector classification, and measurement units. The fifth phase is an activation of a pilot M2M transmission flow. So setting up an experimental mapping, retrieving, and the transmission flow of production volume data among a selected of volunteers companies. The last phase is a test and comparative analysis comparing traditional and the M2M data transmission flows and extension to other survey domains. The first step, the identification of the experimental domain, we select the survey type, in this case, a short-term business surveys. Why we selected this short-term business surveys? Because has a frequent data submissions and considerable respondent burden. There is a shorter questionnaire and mainly quantitative variables and a strong focus on timeliness. The sector is manufacturing with the highest digitalization degree, and we limited the study to products with the production data in volume. The target companies with high level of digitalization and a focus on small, medium enterprises. Because there are extensive process statistical data available, advanced tools for monitoring production, greater trust in new technologies, and small, medium enterprises make up about 88% of manufacturing enterprises. The variable that we selected was a variable of the industrial production in volume. This variable is not available from administrative sources and is currently collected only via direct surveys. And the Industry 5.0 platform are capable of automatically capturing this data. The structured interview outline for providers. In this phase, we identified and engaged the key ERP platform providers in the Italian market because it's a crucial first step to understand the current solutions, the technologies used, and the capacity to support innovation and digital transformation. In the modern ERP system, the integration of AI features is becoming a key differentiator. The objective is to identify and assess key ERP providers to understand current offerings, technologies used, and potential to support innovative-driven initiatives. Method: structured interview with selected ERP providers to evaluate technical and commercial potential, project feasibility, and willingness to engage in public interest collaborations. When this slide shows the topics and the principal topics and items of a structured interview for providers, for example, the user type, market share, business sector and size, degree of user digitalization, and types of service offered, or tools supporting digitalization process, enabling technologies for Industry 5.0, integrated approach across the entire production chain, process monitoring via sensors. Then we can say that, for example, AI-based services integrated in the ERP platform has as items demand forecasting, predictive analytics, process mining and workflow and optimization, robotic process automation, natural language query conversational AI, intelligent document processing, predictive maintenance, IoT, data analytics, anomaly detection and risks analysis, recruitment and HR analytics. Then there are other topics, but we now will focus on the company's role, the key point, the preliminary insights. The first question is if companies are ready to and willing to adopt an automated machine-to-machine approach. The aim is to evaluate business acceptance of technical feasibility by the side of the data providers of machine-to-machine data transmission versus traditional web surveys, and investigate the current process adopted by the companies to collect and transmit production in data in volume. The methodology consists in in-depth interviews with selected companies. The sample is a small purposive sample with diversity in size and sector, and focus on companies with an high digital maturity. The current status, initial small set of digitalized business, sources a monthly industrial production panel, information communication technology, survey, CT, and competence center. The topics to be explored in these structured interviews are first of all, structural information, company size, geographical, local location, turnover, digital degree of innovation. So we can explore the use of AI techniques and internal source and production data process characteristics. And then it's very important to explore the attitudes toward the dedicated module for transmitting data to official statistics. And so analyzing the perceived benefits and the perceived risks and challenges and the acceptability of this study. Concluding with the SWOT analysis, a pilot on the use of the advanced air platforms for the automated transmission of official statistical data has strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This SWOT analysis confirms that the experimentation represents a strategic opportunity in the digital transformation of business statistics, and the machine-to-machine data transmission model promises clear benefits in terms of efficiency, quality, and burden reduction, but its success depends on addressing technical, organizational, and trust-related challenges. A sustainable implementation will require a comprehensive governance strategy focused on interoperability, transparency, and cooperation among statistical institutions, ERP providers, and the business community. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Diego, for the interesting presentation. Questions? Anyone? Jana?
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. So I wanted to go with you. I think the last study that you presented, the qualitative study of using, you don't see the slide yet, but the qualitative study about the readiness of businesses, basically, of using this M2M solution. So we have similar study done at Statistics Netherlands, and one thing that we noticed, it was really hard to make the businesses understand how it would work and how the solution would look like, and that the data is safe. So they had a lot of understanding issues, so they didn't really grasp it. So I was wondering what your experience is there.
If I have correct understood, it said that now we are in the step we have to interview the companies, and the real problem is to understand how they are interested interested in adopt this new technical for data capturing. There are many opportunities for companies and for institutes, national institutes of statistics, but we have to study in depth these difficulties, because there are many problems, such as the consistency. First of all, the variable that we study and we collect are not often in the same format that companies have, and then there are privacy problems and so on. So we are now assessing which much more important items to study and to ask to the companies. So we are now focusing on this problem. This is the challenge.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe to follow up, in the Netherlands, we have some experience with this kind of data collection. And one of the assumptions that we had was that the data that we get from businesses are okay. So there is high data quality, but it wasn't. The data were not complete, they were out of date. So we assumed that the data that we got were good and that we could use the data right away, but it was not. So I would be interested in your experience in that regard.
Yes, we will certainly update you to our progress. And we hope that there is an interest in the companies, because it's a big burden reduction. But there are, at the same the other phase, there are many problems to solve. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Diego, you have a question? Giulio, sorry, Giulio.
No, I don't have a question, just a short comment, because I'm just remember that when I was hired by Istat, unfortunately almost 30 years ago, the colleague next door was just contributing to a new project to capture data from this kind of software used in enterprises. We are still working on that, and so I have 3 comments on that. The first comment is that it seems that we have not found in so many years alternative sources of data. So administrative data cannot provide us with all information we need. The second comment by me is that innovation is difficult, because mainly when several actors, several agents are involved, really to match the needs, to match the, even as was said by Fabrizio, even the languages have to be developed, the common language has to be developed in order to understand how to cooperate. The third point my third point is about technology, because of course there is a big difference between the technology we had available 30 years ago and technology we have now. Diego was mentioning AI as a potential drive for making easier these flows of data. But while 30 years ago, main concerns could be just confidentiality, not to be too much invasive of the enterprise activity. Now, the big concern could be cybersecurity. When we are studying about studying the strategies of digitalization by enterprises, we can see that the main concern is about cybersecurity, because the enterprises currently are at the risk of so many threats that could be more reluctant than before to share the data with some external actor. Thanks.
Yeah, trust, I think, is also a major issue here. Trust in an NSI as organization, but also in the systems and technology. We now move into the discussion. So we have a couple of minutes for a discussion. And there was a question by Pasquale.
Thank you. Sorry if I continue the discussion that Giulio correctly opened. Yes, we can confirm what you said, Giulio, that this process is quite complex, and it is requiring more time than we expected to reach the first effective results. I'd like to add also something on what Diego said concerning the readiness of the companies, how we are assessing now the readiness of companies to be interviewed for that activity. We are using two main sources that are the Istat ICT annual survey on carried out on a sample of about 30,000 companies. So we have a big sample on which we can select our samples, and we are directly using the information we have on the monthly industrial production survey, on which we have direct information about the digitalization degree of these companies. So I think it can be useful to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pasquale. Does any one of you want to react to Pasquale? No? Okay. We are now into the general discussion for this session. Questions to the three speakers in general? Diana, and then again in the back from Finland.
Thank you very much. So I was wondering, so all these new techniques, they're great and they offer new opportunities, but they also come with a great environmental cost. So do you think it's worth it? Are the new techniques, the new statistics, are they worth the environmental burden? And I think burden is a good word here. So is it worth it? From all the speakers, I think.
Could you explain the environmental cost with an example?
So the additional data storage, the computing, the AI needs a lot of water to cool down the systems. Data, for instance, stored at Amazon, or at least computed in Amazon. Is it still safe? So so it's both on safety, but especially on the environmental cost, I would say.
Thanks, Liana. Anyone?
At our step, we didn't yet consider an cost-benefit analysis, but we trust that there is a gain for us and for enterprises to adopt new technologies to extract data that we are interested for official statistics. And the other things to consider is that the respondent rate will increase will be very higher than now. So we trust in this experimentation.
Yes, very shortly. Of course, we are talking about economic statistics. So mostly we are collecting data on financial transactions, financial activities, and then we are producing information on, well, economic data, economic statistics. If we start looking at the digital economy from a different point of view, then I think in that case, we will have to develop new indicators. For instance, no longer considering just the flow of money, but also the flow of data. That's an essential indicator that is absolutely not used in statistics. And for instance, if you should measure the relevance of the new data center sectors, you have to consider financial investments, but you have also to consider energy consumption. You have to consider a kind of environmental footprint, and also the flow generated in terms of information of data from these sectors. So if we are broadening our point of view, of course, a different dimension we have to be taken into consideration, but it's a great challenge, of course.
Okay, thank you. We are running out of time. Do you have a very short question?
Okay, it's more of a comment, let's say, or a supportive comment, so it should be pretty short. I saw the frowns on your forehead when worried about the aspect of enterprises not wanting to come on board with these new ways of gathering information, and I just wanted to add a positive end note to that. In Finland, the companies don't want to report via filling out forms. We've just about checked all the boxes on administrative data sources that we have, and I think this is the right way to go. The companies are actually contacting us and saying, give us a taxonomy, and we would like to digitally do our obligation of reporting to you. But we're not ready there yet. It's actually the other way around. We should be faster to meet their requirements.
I think that is a very good concluding remark, that this is the future. There are still some challenges that we need to face and solve, but it's the way we need to go. I think that that's a good conclusion. So I would like to conclude this session, and thanks to the speakers for interesting presentations. And now we move to the next session, and I give the floor to Paolo Bosso.
Has been.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is the second speed session, the poster session. We have 4 presentations and some few quick information before we start. Each speaker has approximately 3 minutes for their presentation, and after all presentations, we'll have a break, and during the break, we can view the posters in room 139 on the first floor, and there you we'll have the opportunity to ask for questions to speakers for the poster and presentations. And finally, we come back here at 11 o'clock and for the final discussion. So we can start. The first presentation is by Corinna Koenig from Institute for Employment Research. And the title of her presentation is Evaluating Measurement Mode Effects in a Mixed Mode Establishment Survey. Please, Corinne.
Thank you. Right, which has changed because it's part of my dissertation, and so I will present this poster, which is about measurement mode effects in a mixed mode establishment survey. And you already know our data. This time we use the IB establishment panel from 2018, as we had a well-running experiment in this year. We had a random assignment to either the treatment group or the control group and did a mixed mode experiment. So the first mode in the treatment group was the web mode. Non-response follow-up was done by a face-to-face interviewer. And there was even the option for a third mode, which is a self-administered paper questionnaire. In the control group, they were contacted by face-to-face interviewers at first, followed by the paper questionnaire. And at our poster, we will go into the details between the single mode design, so if there are any differences between face-to-face and web. And we will also look at mixed mode designs and compare the face-to-face group and the control group with web plus face-to-face of the treatment group, as well as the whole mixed mode design from the treatment and the control group. And now I want to briefly mention our research questions. So we are analyzing measurement error bias by using our administrative data sources. So we compared the survey answers with the administrative variables we have. As a second research questions, we are looking at sensitive questions and if the answers to those questions differ by mode design. Our third research question is the share of item non-response. So here we look, how big is the difference between the modes? And the fourth question is, do triggering rates of follow-up questions differ by mode design? So here we look at the filter questions in our survey. I also mentioned the hypothesis here. And to keep you curious about our results, I want to stop here. Have a look at our poster. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next presentation is by Laura Sustar-Kozu from Statistical Office of the Republic of Slovenia. And the title of her presentation is The Impact of Coordinated Sampling on Data Collection Process.
So thank you, Paula. Good morning to all. So I will be brief and quick, and I will speak really fast. So I'm head of the Enterprise Cooperation section. My team is responsible to collect the data from the businesses at field. So we have 2 main tasks. At the beginning, we offer additional support to reporting units. We inform them what are their legal obligations, what are the deadlines, and we offer them additional information if they have any questions. So in the second part of the process, we are the one who are responsible to collect all the missing questionnaires, all the missing data, and to check the data which is submitted if it's correct or not. So in the past years, I noticed that the amount of work that we put in data collection process to achieve a really high response rate is increasing from year to year, approximately around 10 to 15% in general, but in some surveys it's up to 30%. So I wanted to find out what is the reason and the cause of that. So I did interview my colleagues. I asked them what would they define as an obstacle or the reason that we have so much work and less work, and they point out three main things. So the first one are the small enterprises units, which are not very in favor to cooperate with us. The second one was the new units, because we have to teach them and explain to them what do we need, why, on what way and why. And the third one is the definitions, because the definitions for statistical service are different from the definitions of the units in the field. So I tried to actually to find out what is the real reason for the burden. So I did pick up one survey, which was the outlier when I was looking at the contacts that we recorded in the process of data collection. And for comparison, I did take another survey which could be comparable. It is an annual survey with a sample size approximately the same. So as you can see for the survey B, there is a high increase in the number of contacts in 2023. And this trend is going on also in this year, because on the graph, there are no data for the year 2025, because we are still in the process of data collection, but I did get the number. So in this year, we recorded around 2,500 contacts. So again, it's a high increase in the contacts. Okay, I will be quick. So if you look at the outgoing contacts, here the situation is a little bit different. The survey A, which is the more stable survey, has a higher number of contacts. But if you look at the survey B, the one that I did look a little bit closer, the amount of contacts is rising. And the same is in the year 2025, when we recorded around 3,000 contacts. So it was a really high increase in the contacts. So what is the reason? I did look what is the characteristic of the samples for these two surveys. And as you can see, the share of the new units in survey A is very low, but in survey B, it's very high. And the reason is because for survey B, we use coordinated sampling. So can we blame the coordinated sampling for additional work, not burden on our side? We can discuss during the coffee.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. Okay, the next presentation is by Rebecca Chandler from Office for National Statistics UK, and the presentation is about future of business survey and statistics, a framework for approaching transformation when everything matters.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. So I'll keep this short. Obviously spoke yesterday. So this is talk about how do we measure the changes that we make when everything matters. We've talked loads over the last few days around respondent burden, quality, increasing granularity, and sometimes working in a large, complex environment, that's really difficult to demonstrate what we should be striving towards and making sure we can deliver against those outcomes. So the reason we created this was within the Office for National Statistics. We have lack of transparency or understanding about what we're aiming for. Sometimes all the complexity of change we're trying to overlay can cause confusion and kind of water down the value we're trying to add at the end. We have inconsistent approaches. So even across our suite of business survey and statistics, we inconsistently look at how we measure the outputs, how we deem the high quality, high trustworthiness of those data. So the expected output of this is to try and create a core measurement value tree that applies to most of our production areas and economic stats. This has helped drive out a set of baseline metrics for us to be able to identify our highest risk surveys, either from quality or respondent burden aspects, and allow us to, as an organisation, pull together to make sure we're developing the right things at the right time. So the purpose of that tree is to make sure those low-level metrics can be relevant to teams and projects. Sometimes at organisational level, we have really good key performance indicators, but at a working day-to-day level, a lot of our teams struggle to understand how they measure when things are going wrong. It also helps us understand other impacts. So for instance, we always find when we're trying to address things like respondent burden, which has been discussed quite a lot, we are moving then away from meeting some of those user needs. And it's really important that when we take those decisions, that we are really clear on what the impact could be of some of those, including to the detriment. This is just a quick example how we're applying it. So at a very strategic level, we need to meet user need. But what do we mean by that? How do we measure it? We can break that down into what we call lagging measures. So we're talking about the reputation and trust around our data. We're talking about how comparable we are. But again, how do you directly measure those things? So our value tree looks to bring in those leading measures, the things we can actually measure. So we can measure our reputation with businesses using satisfaction surveys regularly. We can look to external assessments of our statistics to measure that reputation from users. And we can look at our level of compliance with international standards for that comparability. This is the first iteration. I'd be really keen in the coffee to understand from you all what measures you might think are worth feeding into this. I noticed Leanne's point earlier about the environmental impacts as well, which I'm definitely going to be added in because I think that's a big keyword at the moment, particularly from NSI's perspective. So it'd be great to grab a coffee after this to chat through maybe some measures you use and how we can develop it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, the last presentation is by Liam McGrath from Central Statistic Office, Ireland. And his presentation is respondent first data collection.
Thank you, Paula. I'll be presenting on behalf of my colleague Mary Heaney, who unfortunately couldn't come. But this presentation will briefly outline how we applied a respondent first approach to the import price index using customs data, and also the possibilities of future VAT modernisation in the form of VIDA or VAT in the digital age. So to begin with, we want to kind of look at the future and in terms of VAT in the digitalised age and what that can maybe offer us. So VIDA aims to modernise the intra-EU's value-added tax invoicing and reporting system from 2028. So this will provide electronic invoicing at the barcode level, which using Eurostat's concordance tables, we could link back to other classifications. So in theory, we provide digital reporting on a monthly basis, enabling quarterly and annual estimates. So it could be a single VAT registration and one-stop shop. So it really is a well of EU data to draw from for service delivery in real time. And that's some of what I want to discuss at the poster session, is the opportunities with this, but also the challenges it will entail. So coming back to the present then, and looking at the import price index itself and how we've taken a respondent first approach here. So in the CSO, we've used customs data to basically create the sample for the IPI. And we've used it to identify the top tariff codes specific to each enterprise that's in the sample. And we've been able to develop then a kind of metadata-driven approach to this electronic questionnaire. So in the past, this questionnaire was actually on a paper form or stencil. It was one of the kind of last remaining historic paper questionnaires across our enterprise-based surveys. And we used to request them to specify their top 3 products and the price associated with it. But now using the automated import system, we know their top 3 products and we're able to identify them for them. So we give them 3 products and just ask for the price associated with it. So we're speaking the business's language and making it easier for them to fill it out on their behalf. The work kind of started on this in 2024 and it went live in the field in 25. So now it's a much more targeted, respondent-centric survey. And we're achieving about 85% response rates, which is a mix from moving from paper to EQ, or electronic questionnaire, and also then that metadata-driven aspect. And this is currently available for the extra EU VAT data, but hopefully with VIDA, it'll also be available for intra-EU from 2028. So with this VAT modernisation and VIDA, there's obviously challenges, but with that, there comes lots of opportunities. So this is what we really want to discuss and kind of liaise with other NSIs and collaborate together to understand these challenges, but also the opportunities they bring. So in terms of some of the challenges, there is the survey respondents will expect a burden reduction on their side. With the, I suppose, increasing level of data coming into our systems, there'll be IT capacity issues that we need to consider. And then obviously that's brought up recently is environmental factor that we need to consider. And we need to coordinate how we bring in this data, how we parse it and how we aggregate it internally in our organizations. We need to ensure that we keep statistics a priority with our tax authorities in these projects. because they have different ambitions, they have different goals, but we just need to work together there as well. And we need to communicate the changes with the stakeholders involved, including the businesses. And then obviously just technically blend in these new data sources with our published statistics. So the opportunities are, there's burden reduction, there is one single source of truth, and we can use this for profiling enterprises, helping, I suppose, reduce burden in terms of questionnaires, and just bringing us that bit closer to the businesses themselves. So to conclude, some of the key points and kind of talking items we really want to discuss is how NSIs and the relationship we have together can capitalise on this, and ultimately what are other countries doing? How are other NSIs managing the IT capacity issues? And what are other NSIs doing about centricity and the creation and filling out of forms and the behaviour of respondents? So thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you over coffee. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. And this was the last presentation. And many thanks to all the speakers for their contributions and respect for the time. And I'd like to remind you that the posters are displayed in the room 139 on the first floor, and Gianpaola will accompany you there in the first floor. And then we will meet back here at 11 for the final discussion. Many thanks.